Morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. I know it's still pretty early, and especially for those of us from the West Coast, it's even earlier. But we really appreciate you coming out to take part in our talk today. Today, we're going to be talking about the next chapter on Windows 10 for Office, and in particular, focusing obviously on Office Universal and the Office 2016 client. My name's Dan Parrish. This is Ben Walters.
How are we?
We'll be taking you through everything today. So I want to just start by talking about our vision of bringing Office everywhere to everyone. And I think if you look at what we've accomplished over the past year, it really shows how we're embracing this vision. It started with Office for iPad back in March of 2014, followed by Office for iPhone in November, Office for Android tablet and Outlook for iOS and Android in January, and then the Office for Mac preview in March, and then we just announced, of course, the Office 2016 preview. So if you look at all of the things that we've accomplished over the past year, we really have been embracing this Office everywhere vision, where no matter what device you want to use Office on, you can use it there and have the world's best productivity experience. Now, before I talk a little bit about the modern workplace, quick show of hands, how many of you have 2 or more devices on you right now? Like, pretty much everybody. Now, keep your hands up. Sorry. What if you have 3 or more? See, that's still a large number of you. And it just really shows that the modern workplace has changed. Office has had the best experience on Windows PCs for the last 20 years. And people have a lot of built-in knowledge that they've learned and that we want them to be able to use no matter the device that they're using. And we've also had quite a good experience on the phone. Not advancing. On the phone. There it goes. On the phone for the last several years. And in particular, we've really rounded that experience out over the last year or so. But our experience on the tablet historically has been focused more on... Oh, doesn't seem to be working very well. Has been focused, there it goes, focused more on having the actual Office desktop running in sort of a touch mode on the tablet device. And what we've really come to understand is that that's not really giving people the experience that they need, the touch-first experience that is optimized for that device. And so what we've done is focused on how to build a great experience across all 3 of these devices, focusing on having a common and familiar interface across all of your devices that people understand, focusing on having the content fidelity and the integrity of your document there, no matter where you're using it, building a common core that can be used across all the different endpoints, and that enables us to ship improvements as quickly as possible. And so when we think about all of those things together, that's really what we think of as the modern workplace and how we bring Office across all of these different devices. Now I'm going to hand it off to Ben to talk a little bit about how we think of the difference between Office on desktop and Office for touch.
Thanks, Dan. So with this new release of Office and Office in a touch-based world for Windows 10 tablets and those kind of things, we've got this bit of a dichotomy now. We've got this problem where people are asking, what type of Office do I use and when do I use it? And so with this, we need to have a real think about what this makes sense and what makes sense for you as you're working. And so you know and love Office on the desktop, and this is still here. It's not going away. Office 2016 is here to stay, and when it gets released, and we'll continue to work on those desktop-based applications. On those desktop machines, you usually have much higher powered machines. You have all of these great processors and graphics cards and all these kind of things to take advantage of. And that's really where that Office on the desktop takes, shines and takes its best advantage. Plus, you also have the mouse and keyboard and high precision control as part of that. When we think about Office for Touch, we're really looking at those smaller tablet devices. Those times when you're on the run, you're on the bus, on the train, on the plane, and you want to be able to work on your documents easily and quickly, just using the nice 5 or 10 digits if you're being really, really agile on the device. And so when we think about Office for Touch, it really sits into that place of those 10-inch tablets and below. Now, the thing is, you can still install Office, the touch-based version of Office, what we're calling the modern or universal applications, onto a 32-based device. And so probably one of the biggest things that breaks this dichotomy is this idea of a Surface or convertible PC, where you can take the machine, snap it off a keyboard or fold the keyboard backwards, and all of a sudden you have a touch-based device. And there's nothing stopping you from saying, in those instances, I still want to use a touch-based version of Office, and that's perfectly acceptable. But when it comes to where we target it specifically, it's into those smaller tablets. But we'll still want to enable you to do exactly what you want to do when you want to do it and what makes sense for the task you're trying to achieve.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about Office Universal before Ben dives into the actual demo and what our sort of vision here was. And it's really about building that same experience across devices. So the first thing that we think about is the content fidelity and the document integrity. One of Office's main value propositions is that when you build a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation or an Excel workbook on Windows and you bring it to Office Online or Android or iOS or Office Universal, it looks and feels exactly the same, right? You know that what you've built, no matter where you bring it, how people experience it and what they're seeing is exactly what you wanted them to see. And that's really a foremost concern to us. And with Universal, you will absolutely get that. Documents that you build anywhere else will render beautifully in that application. And the document integrity is also really vital, right? The other main thing is that as you build your document and move it to these other platforms that may not support all of the functionality that the desktop application supports, no matter what, even if you make changes on that device, when you bring it back to your desktop application, you'll still have access to all of the functionality that was built into your workbook or your Word document. None of it will be lost in the transition. You can work safely knowing that no matter the changes that you make, you won't lose any of the richness that you've put in your document. And so bringing things to Android or iOS or Universal that may not support the full feature set is still a safe thing to do. The common interface, I talked about how we've had the best productivity experience on Windows for over 20 years. And so we've actually had Office around for almost 30, right? 1985 was the first time that we shipped Excel. And so that common interface people have built up a lot of knowledge in how to use Excel and Word and PowerPoint, all of the Office applications. And we really want to make sure that as they move from device to device, that knowledge moves with them and they don't have to relearn things. As they move to Universal in a touch world, they just know how to pick it up and get going, and they can be productive right away. First-class cloud-connected experience. We still let you save locally, of course, if you want to, but we think that there's a bunch of great things that come with saving it to the cloud. First of all, with all of these different devices, this gives you an ability to work on one document and have it be accessible from all of the different devices and not moving your Word document from device to device. It's just automatically there no matter where you are and no matter where you go. Additionally, it's not just the document that roams, but also we roam your settings as well. So your list of most recently used documents, your last saved position in a Word document, your last saved position in a PowerPoint document, or even your dictionaries all roam with you so that you can have that same experience as you move across Office, across all these different devices, and even across different desktop devices as well. Also, Universal is built on a new common architecture. One of the great things that comes with having Office around for 30 years is there's a ton of features. But one of the bad things is also there's a ton of code, and all of that code wasn't necessarily written in a way that works properly on an Android device or even on Office Universal. And so what we've really done is take that code and re-architect it a little bit in order to build a new common framework that we can build all of the other applications on top of. And if you take Excel, for instance, Excel is 92% the same between Universal and Android. And that 8% is really just things that we need to be different on the Android operating system to make it feel like a platform-appropriate experience. But other than that, the entire core is common between those two applications. And that's really, something that's great for us because it allows us to move quicker and deliver more improvements to you guys at a quicker pace, which is really the goal for us building this common architecture, is to make you guys not have to wait for like 3 years whenever you want to get an update, and we can ship updates monthly or quarterly or whatever the right time frame is in order to get them out to you as quickly as possible. I'm going to hand it over to Ben, who's going to show you some of the great features here in Office Universal.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. So I'm going to start my, wait for that to come up. Cool, it is. I'm going to start with my demo today. I'm going to be looking at Office Universal. I have a nice little 10-inch tablet up here. I apologize if you can't see it. Trust me, it's here. It's just a little bit touchy on the output for the device at the moment. But I'm going to start in Word. And Word is this, it's a great rich application that we love to be able to, read documents on and be able to review things as we go through. And so what I have here is my Contoso photo or photography document. I've got this in reading mode. It's very easy for me to swipe from left to right to be able to make my way through that document. So very natural, interactive way with me. I can also go ahead and, access things like review comments. I can reply to those inline right there while I'm reviewing, making it really simple for me to be able to review that document and give feedback as I'm going through. But when we think about documents and the way we work with them, there are times when we don't always know exactly what's meant or intended by certain terms and things like that in documents. So I can also take advantage of these new features like Insights. And this is where we start to use Bing and the cloud to bring information and additional, knowledge to the reader via the document. So you can see here I have a word selected, which is shutter. I have a document here that's based around photography. And as I select that word, I get this nice little ellipsis, which is essentially my right-click menu. And if I go ahead and select Insights, because I have the word shutter and because I'm in a photography document, the results I get back are all based around shutter speed and photography terms. Now, if you go to Bing today and you search for shutter and just put that straight into Bing, you'll actually get window shutters. You'll get a horror movie from 2008 called Shutter. You'll get a whole bunch of other things before you actually get to the stuff about photography. But because the context of this document is photography, the Insights engine and Bing is doing a contextual search for me and making sure I've got the right information based on what I'm reading. And it's not just text-based responses in that as well. I can also get results that are visual and have images and help me to understand what shutter speed is and what I'm working with in that document. So really rich experience as part of that. Now, we don't always just read documents, we also like to edit them. So as I switch this back to Word and edit mode, it starts to look a little bit more familiar to what we're used to seeing. I have my document, I have all of my ribbon tabs at the top as well, so it's really easy for me to get access to that functionality just with my fingers. But you know what, there are times as well when even me who works on the Office team forgets where features are. There are roughly 4,000 features in Word alone, and sometimes finding those can be difficult. So for example, if I decide to come up and I'm going to put my cursor here, I'll bring up my keyboard and put that down a little bit. So when I want to find those features, we have this new engine called Tell Me, which allows me to ask questions of the application and say, where is certain functionality? So for example, if I say I want to insert a table, you'll notice that Word actually goes out and brings back that functionality for me. Now this is not Clippy. This is not taking me to help on the web or a file that I then need to read and figure out where that functionality is. It's taking me straight to the functionality. So if I go ahead and hit table, that goes and gets inserted directly for me. And this will happen with any function or any piece of functionality that sits in Word. I can easily go and find that and access that functionality with a single click rather than needing to trawl my way through the tabs if I'm unsure where it is. So let's switch now over to PowerPoint. And PowerPoint is this beautiful, rich application. Actually lends itself really well to touch when you're presenting. But when we think about going through that edit experience, we needed to rethink some of the ways that people interact with documents, especially in Excel. And so, as I make my way through the slides, you'll see I can slide up and down to navigate through those really quickly, really easily without always having to use a slide navigator. As I select objects in the presentation, you notice I get these really nice big fat grip handles on the side there. I don't have a mouse, I have a big fat finger to be able to do that. So it's much easier for me to grab those grip handles and be able to change things around if I want to as part of that. Now, if I switch this into presentation mode, oops, bring that back up. You'll notice I've got my presentation there. I'm going to go the correct way. There we go. I've got my presentation there. I can very easily navigate through that with a swipe. I can go ahead and make my way through that presentation. Now, the beauty is with Office Universal on a Windows-based PC, we have access to certain hardware integrations that we don't always have on other platforms. And this is where we will take the advantage of the bits and pieces we have there to make sure that we have a great experience. Now, in this case, this means we have access to things like styluses and pens. And so if I want to ink on PowerPoint while I'm presenting, all I have to do is pull out my stylus. I can actually start to draw on that and take notes or draw attention to people or draw attention to certain parts of the presentation very easily and quickly just by using my stylus. Now, last but not least, I'm going to switch over to Excel. So Excel is probably one of the most challenging applications to move into a touch-based world, mainly because it's been built for precision. It's been built for mice and keyboards for nearly 30 years. And so we needed to rethink a way we do a lot of different things in Excel. Here you can see I have an expense worksheet. I'm going to go through and actually select some data here. And you'll notice as I select this data that my selector isn't snapping to cells in this. It's actually being analog in the way it's selecting. So if I happen to be a little less precise and I overshoot the mark, Excel's smart enough to go, okay, well, you probably didn't want that next column of data. I'm going to go and click back to where you want to be. Conversely, if I decide to go just a little bit over that 50% mark, Excel's still smart enough to know that's what I wanted. Now, as I go through Excel, it's very easy for me to use the formulas that sit in the tab and do some auto sums as part of that as well, and have all of my charts and things update. But the truth is we don't just go through and do this with data, we also get a lot of raw data when we're in Excel. And working with raw data can be a really big challenge, especially when we move to touch. We want to format as a table, we want to change the way things look and feel. So I'm going to go and select just one cell in here, and I'm going to go and change this into a table. Now, Excel's smart enough, has done a couple of really smart things in this action. First of all, it's found the bounds of my data. It said, all right, I know where the bounds of that data are and where I should be setting the table. It's also looked at the data and said, you know what? You don't have table headers, so I'm not going to turn them on. Now, if I had a separate row of data there that actually had the titles in each of the title rows, it would have ticked that for me automatically. Of course, it also gives me the option to correct that if I need to, so it's really easy for me to go and change that as I'm going through that edit process. So really, really simple ways to be able to do that. Now, as we're working with data and we're creating tables, probably one of the hardest things for me, even with a mouse and keyboard, is doing that thing where I want to resize a column. How many people have you've got to get your mouse right on that line, and if you're slightly off that line by a pixel, yeah, it's not going to work, right? But when we think about that in Touch, we've actually made that really easy. So as I select my column, you'll notice at the top of the column there, on the right-hand side, is this little double bar. That's my resize bar. And so I can very easily go in, grab my bar, whoops, I'm not moving that one, and go and resize my column really simply and easily just using Touch. No mouse, no keyboard needed. And I also kind of gave away my next trick, which is if I want to move my data, I slide the column title down and move across, and I can go and rearrange that as well. So really quickly, really easily, I can do that. Now the last one is I want to show you very quickly on this is formatting data as well. So I've got here, this data should actually be monetary data. It shouldn't be just numbers. So I'm going to go back to my Home tab here, and I can very, very easily go and update the format of my data as well. So if I decide I want to make this currency, I'll go and do it that way. It's very easy for me to go and format that raw data and put it into a table ready to go. And then, of course, once I've got that done, I also have access to be able to select all this out and do, of course, the one last thing we always love, which is to insert charts. And I can go ahead and select my data and get a list of recommended charts. Now, once again, as with Excel on the desktop, these aren't just static images of these charts. This is actually rendering the data for me, so I can get a great insight as to what I'm committing to before I go and do it. So if I decide I want that chart there, you'll notice there we go. I've got my chart up, my data's done and ready to go. So with that, I'll hand back to Dan. I think it's that one. Maybe. Nope. Which number's our slide deck?
Nope.
There we go. Beautiful.
Excellent. All right. So Office 2016. Ben just walked through a great example of a lot of the features and capabilities that we added to Office Universal. But we, of course, didn't forget about the desktop. And we've added a ton of great functionality into the desktop this release as well. And when we think about the desktop, about all of the work that we've put in this release, it really is sort of in 5 major buckets. The first is modern collaboration. And this is really about shifting from a world of individual creation to real-time, anytime, anywhere collaboration and collaborative content creation. And the first way that this is sort of that this comes through is with real-time collaboration in Word. This is the same real-time collaboration that we have had in Office Online in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and now we've brought it to the Word desktop as well. When you're editing in Word in real time, you can see the changes that people make. You can see them backspacing. You can see their presence wherever they are. Word auto-saves your changes so that no changes that you make are ever lost. And it even works with Word 2010 and Word 2013. Of course, those clients only get updates whenever they actually save. But they can still participate in this collaborative editing process, which is great. We also have some Outlook features, like a more focused inbox with clutter. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but I still get a lot of email. And it's pretty hard sometimes to sift through what's high priority and what's not. And the great thing is with clutter, Outlook will automatically learn what email is high priority to you, and you can create a folder to move the low priority email there automatically. And that will really just help you focus in on what's most important. There's also cloud-based attachment sharing. So we've added an MRU, a most recently used list of files that you can quickly attach in Outlook. And this is great for making sure that you're always focused on the most recent version of any file, especially when you're working with a bunch of people and there's a bunch of files being sent around. But you can also take files and when you attach them to emails, automatically upload them to the cloud and share them that way to help try and get to one version of the truth so that you're not actually sending all these attachments around. Moreover, we've done a bunch of changes in the client as well to make the experience feel like a local document. So you still get the little paperclip, you can still double click on the file to open it, so that all the learnings that people have around how to use Outlook and how to work with attachments, they still work, even though now they're working on a cloud document and not a local document.
There's also the added benefit of that too, is that when you are using modern attachments to attach your documents, it takes care of all the permissioning for you. So if I happen to share something with someone who's not, doesn't have access to that file, that whole process of just simply attaching, putting their name in the email to field, takes care of permissioning. All that happens in the background, so it's no longer a 2 or 3 step process. It just works the way I normally work.
Yep, it's a great point, Ben. Also, modern conversations. So conversations that happen in Outlook, there's no reason that they need to be that different than things that happen in Facebook Messenger or an IM, right? And so what we've done with modern conversations is really sort of embrace the social around conversations and enable you to have a top-down, top-to-bottom experience so that you can read through your email in really a logical order. And you can represent split threads in a way that makes sense to you so that you can sort of follow along with what's actually happening. And then we also just have more improved communications for doing things together. So we have a slicker UI, a more minimal UI around Skype for business. We have a always visible call monitor, and then coaching for first-time users to really help them sort of get used to using communication in Office, which is great. The next thing that we think about, though, is personal insights. And personal insights is really all about moving from tools that wait for us to make changes to moving to tools that can actually anticipate what we want to do and help us accomplish what matters most to us. And I think this really surfaces in 3 ways in Excel in particular. The first is self-service predictive analytics and forecasting. So this enables analysts to get insights more easily from their data and to use their data to identify patterns and actually forecast future values, which is obviously something that's super valuable and is something that people have been trying to do in Excel natively for a long time, and now we offer tools to help you accomplish that. You can also connect to even more data sources. So you can connect through Power BI, you can connect to OLAP cubes in SQL Azure Services, and Power Pivot is now even more performant and uses less memory, so you can work on bigger data sets even in the 32-bit version of Excel. Finally, we also allow you to create new insights using storytelling by enabling new visualizations in Excel. It's been a long time since we've added a new chart type, but now there's a whole bunch: histogram, tree map, and many more. Ben's going to show some of them, which is great. And Power Map is also now integrated directly into Excel, so that you can create these rich 3D visualizations of the planet or of basically anything that you can come up with. Next is people-centric compliance. And this is really all about making security and privacy a natural part of the tools that people use every day. The first way that we've done that is by expanding our data loss prevention tools, our DLP tools. And really what we've done here is integrate this into Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, which are the tools that people are actually using. Right? And what this enables you to do is prevent unintentional disclosure of data, and administrators can actually control how restrictive they want to be, anywhere from just notifying users when there's something that might be fishy to full-on blocking you from sending a Word document that might have a credit card number in it, for instance. We also have multi-factor authentication in Outlook. A lot of big businesses, in particular finance and the military, are really on the bleeding edge when it comes to security. And we want to enable them to do that by enabling multi-factor authentication, which we've done by integrating with ADAL. And then, of course, there's also protecting company information on devices. You've probably heard this referred to as walled garden. And it enables a ton of different functionality like remote wiping, restricting cut, copy, paste, restricting printing, all so that you can protect your data when it's on these mobile devices, just like you can when it's on the desktop. We also have a new modern experience, a personality refresh so that when you're using Office, it feels fresh and new, and also that it feels consistent across all of the different devices. If you've seen the Universal app that Ben just showed, or if you've seen Office for iOS, or if you've seen Office for Android, they have a new theme, and now we've brought that over to both the Windows desktop and the Mac desktop to really make everything feel like one. But we haven't just taken that work in order to make it look nice. We've also done a bunch of search improvements and performance improvements at the same time to really make this the fastest and most responsive release of Office ever. And then Tell Me, which Ben already showed, right? But it's a natural way to search for commands in the ribbon. And it started in Office Online, which is really a great place for it to be because we can try and do some flighting to try A and B tests. We can get a lot of customer feedback and a lot of telemetry and data on it to really work and build it into something that we felt comfortable integrating into the Office desktop apps as well. And with that, now you can just ask Office to do something, and it will do it. You can say, hey, I want a Halloween font, and it will suggest a great font for your Halloween. Or, of course, you can search for things that might have been hard to find in the ribbon before. Tell Me is just a really great way to get people to use more of Office than they've ever been able to do before. And the last is Office 365 Pro Plus Update Management. And this is really all about customers that are using our Office 365 subscription service. 2016 includes new improvements and innovations to allow the IT to deploy things easier than ever before.
And this is something we got a lot of feedback about because with Click to Run, which is the way that the new deployment method we had within Office 2013, we were pushing out updates to people. And the truth is, system admins don't want updates pushed out every month. They want to have control over when things get to their users. But the truth is, we don't want you to lose security patches, and we don't want you to lose functionality as well. However, it was usually what we wanted, and what the feedback we got was that IT admins wanted to take the security patches, but not necessarily take the new functionality updates. And so what we have with this new update process is the ability for you to defer the functionality updates out and take just the security patches as they come down, meaning that as you go through, every couple of months you can do feature updates and you can put that into testing, make sure that the documents and the files you have there are working, but still be protected from a security standpoint so that you don't have any danger there as part of that.
Right. It's really all about giving admins the control about what gets deployed and to what machines and at what pace. And then, of course, we also have enhanced distribution management with improved System Center integration, as well as simplified activation management with some feature additions to the Office 365 admin portal to allow you to manage your desktop activations easier than ever.
Yeah, and this really comes out, again, from feedback we received from everyone out there using Office 365 today. As a Yin user today, you can go to your 365 portal and find out how many PCs you've activated. Problem is, an admin can't do that on your behalf for an enterprise. And so admins are getting phone calls from people saying, my Office won't activate. It's because they installed it on 4 or 5 other PCs somewhere else. And of course, then the admin has to walk the person through how to go through the portal, how to deactivate a copy. So now we're making that centralized so you can really control what's been activated and help users be more effective in getting their new devices up and running.
Yep. And actually, now I'm going to hand it off to you, Ben.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right. I promise I'll switch my input for you in a second. I want that one, I think. All right. So while Dan said I was going to show you 2016, I'm going to diverge briefly, and I'm actually going to start by showing you Office on Windows Phone, and then we'll move into the 2016 piece. So I have here a Windows Phone 10. You can see I have all my Office applications available to me. And one of the places I start my day, in fact, I started this morning, it doesn't matter how bleary-eyed I am, I always start my day by checking my email. And with Office, the new version of Office in Office 2016, we have new Mail, Calendar, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint apps that run on the mobile platform of Windows. And these are actually universal apps as well, so they're running on the same code base as what we saw on the tablet PC before. Now, as I open up my Outlook Mail, you'll notice we have this fresh experience with Mail. And when we think about Mail on the phone, it's very rare that we spend a whole lot of time typing up that 400-page response to someone in email. What I want to do here, especially when I wake up in the morning, is I want to go through and be able to triage my email quickly, get all that sorted so I know what to follow up on before my kids come running in and try and wake me up. Now, when we think about triaging email, we have these great swipe gestures that I can actually go ahead and very quickly, delete, or in this case, set a flag on a mail, which makes it really easy for me to go through and highlight what's important to me. And these are also customizable. So when we think about mail and the way you work with your device is very personal. So it's very easy for me to come into here, change the swipe options that I have, and set them to what makes sense for me as well. I also have the option here to go and set a signature and do those kind of things on my phone really quickly and easily. Now, with one of the things that does come out a lot within mail is how many people have had a mail where you've responded to it and you've wanted your response on the phone to be, see my responses in line. Someone asks you 3 or 4 questions, and what you want to do is you actually want to be able to go back into the mail, go straight down there, and you can't do that. Well, I'm happy to say that with Outlook on Windows Phone, and I'm going to take this one here, which came through a little bit earlier. Maybe not. Let's go and try that again. These are all preview apps, by the way, in pre-release state. And they're not going to work for me very nicely. I'll give that one more go. There we go. All right. Just had to coax it, that's all. So as I go into my mail, you can see I've got a thing here asking me, if I want to come to the Star Wars pre-screening for the next Star Wars, I need to order the following movies in their desired order. Now I can go here and hit reply. And as I hit reply, one of the things we've done with the mail client on the phone is we're actually using the Word application behind the scenes to do the editing, which means I have access to the palette UI below that. I can see all of my tabs and formatting as part of that. But I also have the ability now to go right back into my email and actually do my responses in line. Now we know that's not the best one, so we're going to set that as, we're going to make that 8, my highest priority. But I can go through and actually say, you know what, this is my favorite. This is my second favorite. This is my third favorite. We'll go with that. And this one, we just don't know yet. But as you can see, it's really easy for me to go back and edit in line, which is something we've never been able to do on the phone before and is new to Outlook on Windows Phone. And I go ahead and hit send and away I go. The other thing we've done with Outlook, even though the calendar is in a separate application, we've integrated access from the mail application right back to calendar. So it's very easy for me to pull up my menu here and flick straight over to my calendar in preview. Flick over to my calendar and see all of my appointments and things that are coming up as part of that. So much easier for me to be able to do that, and of course I can always go and switch back to my mail if I want to as well. So really great experiences from mail, and we really think this is going to help people start to be more and more productive on the go. So let's flick out and look at some of the other applications we have here. And I'm going to open up Word. And here you can see, similar to the document I had earlier, this is a really rich, high-fidelity document available to me on the phone. It looks beautiful. I have all my pinch zoom. I have access to all of my commenting, all of my track changes, review, all as part of my document review process in there. Now, one of the things that we think about, how do we take an application from big screen to small screen, is we need to rethink the way things like ribbons work. And so, as I said before, we have this palette UI approach, where what we can do is take the ribbon and put it into this little menu at the bottom. So I still have access to all of the tabs that you saw before, but all available on a phone in what makes sense on this smaller screen. So it's really easy for me to get access to all the formatting and functionality I want, but on a much smaller screen as part of that. I also have quick sharing features in here as well. So if I want to go and share this document out, I can simply hit the plus user button at the top corner and go ahead and send this to someone and forward that through as part of that. Now at the moment I've only got my OneDrive, my own personal OneDrive connected to this. I don't have a OneDrive for Business account connected, but if I did have OneDrive for Business, that would show up there as well. And then when I want to go and create new emails, I can go ahead and do that as well. New documents, sorry, I can go ahead and do that as well. We have print functionality as well, direct from the phone. So if you want to print a document out and all you have is your phone, you don't want to fire up your PC or it's gone flat, it's very easy to be able to do that as well. Okay, let's move on now to PowerPoint. All right, and I think if we go that way, there we go. So PowerPoint as well is now running on the phone. I have a rather large document here. Every image in the background is actually really, really high res, hence why it's probably a little bit slow. But what you can see here is I have all of my slides and my presentation ready to go in here. Now this is great, and when we think about PowerPoint on the phone, personally I tend to use it just to review slides. But when we think about devices like this where we have access to Miracast and projection capabilities, it's very realistic to think that I can actually take this and put this straight into presentation mode as well and output my presentation. Now, what you're seeing here is the presenter view, and you're seeing it sideways, which doesn't help you, so let me go and correct that for you. Or not. It's not going to let me go and rejig that. Oops. There we go. All right, hold on. There we go. All right. So what you saw there was the presenter view. When I'm connected to an output device, that's the view I get on my phone. But what actually comes out on screen is this great view of my presentation. Plus, I have all those animations and transitions that I'd expect to see in my presentation as I'm going. So really great, helps me be productive and helps me to make sure that I've got what I need to go as I'm making my way through the day. Last one I'm going to show you is Excel before I move on to my, whoops, sorry, I'll try not to flick this around too much. I don't want to make everyone sick. Is Excel. And as I open up Excel, now my other applications were already preloaded with documents. I've got Excel here in the first opening screen, and what you'll see here is my most recently used items list. And so this is this idea of having, the Office know who you are and follow you wherever you go. So any of the documents I'd edited or worked on will show up here. They're coming down from the location where they're stored, and so it's very easy for me to grab those. Grab that and open that up. Still in preview. Give this one last go, and if it's not going to work, in that case, I'm not going to show Excel. We'll do a new one. Of course, I can go and create new documents as well. And here we have Excel ready to go. And you'll notice we have a lot of the similar controls that I showed you on the tablet device before. So it's very easy for me to select data. I have my ellipsis there for my common commands if there are things that I want to do, and still having my palette UI down the bottom to be able to do formatting and formulas and those kind of things as well. So really, really great experiences that we have with Excel, all on the phone, making it much easier for you to be productive. Now, with that, I'm going to switch over very quickly to my next device.
The other thing to mention just about the phone, and when we were talking about Office Universal, these are actually the same apps, but running, when they discover that they're running on a phone, they just change their experience to be phone-based. So when we're talking about building Universal as a shared core that can work across multiple devices, Universal it is the example of it where it's actually the same application that'll run on your tablet or on your phone and is the basis for Android and soon to be iOS and everything as well.
Cool, thanks Dan. So I've switched over to this other machine here, and Dan mentioned the idea of DLP and extending the DLP footprint for users so that they can get notifications wherever they are. Now, we've had this in Outlook for a while, and what I'm going to show you is a very similar experience. I have some customer orders here that I'm going to open up. And you'll notice as I do that, I have a policy tip come up because Excel and the policies enforced by my organization have picked up that there's sensitive data in my document. As I said, this has been in Outlook for a while, and we've had this there to notify people to, don't send that email, the Nigerian prince is not real, he's not going to give you $4 million, all those kind of things. But now this extends into all of the Office applications. And this is really great because what this means is it helps users make the right decision up front. A lot of the time, people, when users get blocked, and they just get stopped from doing something, what that breeds is not more compliant users, but probably smarter users who learn to work their way around systems. And usually that workaround results in something like a USB key. But what it's doing here is helping me identify where there's potential threats. And you'll see if I go and click that policy tip, I can get more information in the backstage as to what's been picked up. I have links through to the policy on the website, so the actual corporate policy, I can go and check that. I can get more information and help make the right decision. Now, this is in Excel, but this will also be in our Word and PowerPoint as well. And while that may sound strange as to having DLP rules in Word or even PowerPoint, if you think about someone who's copying data like this and putting it into a PowerPoint presentation or into a Word document, it's very easy for leaks like that to happen. The other great story I have from days gone by was basically an organization that protected their data by basically putting white text on a white background, and then had a massive set of leaks of part of that. So this will also help to be able to identify those places where data shows up and notify the user up front before things get out of the organization. So really, really great functionality there as part of that. The other piece to this is that the compliance of all of this DLP is managed centrally in Office 365 or in your Ad Compliance Center. So you don't have to create policies for Word documents and Excel documents and PowerPoint documents and mail. You create one set of policies and that applies across all of the Office suite. So it's much easier to manage as well. Okay, so now, keeping in the Excel vein, going to switch over to this Excel document and show you some of the new visualizations we have in Excel. As Dan said, it's been a long time since we've had any new chart types come into Excel. And when we think about the way customers visualize data, it's becoming more and more important to the way they do their business. It's how they gain insights. It's very rare that you can have that savant in your organization that looks at the big grid of Excel data and can draw great insights out of it. That's what the visualization's for, so that we can start to process things better. And so what we've got is, we actually have 6 new visualizations in Excel. I'm going to show you a couple of them today. But they are waterfall, Pareto, histogram, tree map, sunburst, and one more that I'm blanking on at the moment. But it's very easy for me to be able to create these visualizations. You can see I have some data here that is actually waterfall book data, sales data coming through into a waterfall map, so I can find out where my profits are. I also have great tree map data here, which helps me to see, the size. Each leaf and node in here shows me the size of different values. Really simple for me to go through, and these are all interactive as well. And so when we think about these new charts, we've actually built it on a new platform that means we can continually update these and bring new chart types forward as we move forward throughout the updates. Now, this tree map data here looks great, but what I want to do is I think I want to get a better view of the structure. And so I'm actually going to go and change this over to a sunburst graph. And so what you see there is I now can get still a view of the different leaf nodes and the values there, but also get a deeper insight as into the structure of the data and the way it's actually built up. So really great, really easy to work with as part of that. The other one we have in here, and if I come to here, is we have this great forecasting engine now as well. So I have a bunch of monthly data here of my actual sales. And if I come into my data tab, I can actually go and create a new forecast sheet. So I've got a full year's data selected as part of that. I'm going to go and hit my forecast and hit create, and it's going to take that data and put it into a new sheet and actually create a chart for me as well, where not only do I have my actuals, let me just extend this up a little bit. Not only do I get my actuals in that, but I also get my forecast for the next FY as well. And so what you'll see there is the blue line indicates my actual data and my actual sales over time. And then as I get to the red line, I start to get my forecast. Now, the thick red line in the middle is my median forecast, and then I have my upper and lower bounds as part of that. Simple click. All I have to do is select the data, select the time variant on that as well, and create my new forecast sheet. So some great new functionality in Excel there that we think is really going to help those analysts and Excel boffins around. So I'm going to come back to Word again. Again, same document we have here. It probably looks very similar to what we saw on the device before. I have this in reading mode, so I still can go through and do all my reading and those kind of things. But what I want to do is I'm actually going to go and switch to, let's come back to my insights. So I still have my insights as well. So all of those insights we saw historically, where is my Word? Here it is. Cool. I still have insights as well in there. So that functionality we saw on the universal application on the tablet PC also exists in the desktop. So we're making sure the experiences you see span all of those devices. So it doesn't matter where you are, you're not stuck looking for functionality that doesn't exist. And exact same experience is part of that as well. Now again, I can switch this to the edit mode, and now we're back to the Word that we know and love. As Dan mentioned, we have a new, I guess, look and feel to the Office applications. Currently, this is sitting in colorful mode. You'll see the top ribbon there, or the top bar is blue. As I move to Excel, Excel is green. So it's really easy for me to identify where things are at and what's going on. We also have, as a response to, strangely, a lot of customer feedback, a new dark theme. So a lot of people responded to us on Office 2013 and said, hey, it's just too bright. I can't see. I've turned my monitor brightness down and I still can't see. And we brought in a new theme as well, which is a dark theme to really help on that high contrast mode for people who are, a little bit more sensitive to those brighter colors. Now, once I'm in Word, I have access to Tell Me as well. So that same engine I was using before is there. And so if I want to go and search, in this case, I'm going to go and search for a header. I can go ahead and do that. And you'll notice as well, because I have a mouse, I have the ability to hover, so that functionality starts to expand a little bit more as well. So once again, take me straight to the functionality within Word, very quickly, very easily as part of that. And for the rest of that, you have Word. It's the Word you know and love. We have all of our review, all our commenting inline as part of that as well. Okay, moving into Outlook. So Outlook is still where I know I spend a lot of my time, and we have in Outlook made some changes, as Dan said earlier. We've included the ability for two-factor auth, which is, again, something we had a lot of feedback on. A lot of people wanted to be able to have two-factor auth and have Outlook support that. We now do, or multi-factor auth. But we also have this great way of being able to share documents. Now, normally, normally when I would attach a document, or if there was a document I was working on, I think the process is you get the document, you save it somewhere, and if you saved it in OneDrive, then you've got to go and get the link, and then you've got to put the link in, and then you've got to provide permissions, and it becomes a very, very long, drawn-out process. But now it's very easy for me to simply come in, open up my ribbon, and hit my attach file. Now, as I open that up, you'll see a list of all the recent documents I've been working on. And this is everything I've been working on either on the cloud or on my PC, all there ready for me to go. And you'll also notice some of these documents look different. The ones with the little cloud icon next to them, these are ones that are stored in OneDrive or in a central location for me to share. If I click these documents, the link will be shared, but it'll actually look like I've got an attachment. The other documents in there are the documents that are sitting on my PC or in a local source, and as I click those, I'll actually get the option to upload those into OneDrive and share from OneDrive or send as a normal attachment. I'm going to go and hit my Carbon 3D printing proposal. I want to send that out, and you'll see that it's been attached in there. It looks like an attachment, it feels like an attachment, but it's actually just a link back to the document. Now, to provide access to people to do this, I'm just going to put in Julia White here. Oh, apparently she's not in there. She is. Go with that. It's to provide access, all I need to do is put in the name of the person I want to have access to this document. Now, if this is someone inside my organization, that's pretty straightforward. They'll have access to my document. It'll be shared via OneDrive. If they're outside of my organization, it'll provide that 365 access back through as well. So I can share this with anyone I want really quickly and easily. Now, there are times when I don't want to give everyone full read-write access to my document, so I can also modify the permissions of that as well. So as I open up the nice little click-down menu, I can come down and change my permissions on this document. So if I decide I just want people who are in this email to have view rights as opposed to edit, it's very easy for me to do that. If I decide I want to do this the old-fashioned way, I can also go and attach a copy directly to the mail and actually have the physical document go with the mail and travel with it. So, great functionality there, really easy for me to be able to work with, really easy for me to be able to send those things through. So now I'm going to hand back to Dan. Which one was it? That one.
Yep. So, yeah, basically, to wrap up, we just wanted to reemphasize a few of our main points. The first is that what we've done this release is really make Office platform appropriate, but still undeniably Office on all of your devices. With 2016, you have the best desktop environment that looks and feels great on Windows 10. With Office Universal, the same experience that you know and love, you can use on your tablet device or on your phone. And it's the best of Office on all of your devices, and that includes Android and iOS as well. The shared code base is the thing that guarantees this cross-platform fidelity and the user experience, and that is also enabling us to ship updates to you faster than ever before. And that we just really want you to know that we are deeply invested to bringing the best of Office to everyone, everywhere, no matter their device, no matter what operating system or platform or device type they want to use. We want them to have the world's best productivity software. So hopefully we've convinced you that Office 2016 is pretty great. And if you haven't already downloaded the preview, you can go and get it loaded on for you at the loading station in the Office Expo. They'll do not just the desktop, they'll also do Universal and Android and iOS or the Mac. Or if you want to get it at home, you can go to aka.ms/2016 preview, and you can download the preview there as well. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, we'll take them now, but please go up to the microphones because it's a big room. Thank you.
Thank you. I have two questions. Actually, I have a couple, but I'll start with one and then let someone else go. Which of the new features that you outlined, and obviously you outlined a lot of them, but which are some of the key ones that are lost for non-O365 enterprise customers?
So the question is, what are the ones that are lost for non-Office 365 customers? So I think, I'm trying to think what's lost and what's not.
Obviously, the deployment piece requires the Office 365.
Yeah, so the deferred update piece of deployment is obviously going to be driven from Office 365. End user client features, sharing via OneDrive obviously requires a OneDrive to do that. But it's not something that is needed in 365 to do that. Like it's just that central cloud storage. So I don't think there's really much there that you're going to lose if you're a non-Office 365 customer. What you will find is that as we get to that release point, 365 customers will continue to get updates and new features come through. So as we move forward, like 12 months from now, the next Ignite, you'll probably be asking that question and getting these are some of the things that haven't shipped to the older perpetual or MSI deployment version of Office.
When you were showing the rights management in the Outlook or sharing the documents, do you require the rights management server to do that?
So question, do you need a device management server? No. So the rights management or the DLP policies, they actually come from, there's a central compliance dashboard that sits within in Office 365, which is where those policies are set, which pushes those down. So you don't need a rights management server on that. From a rights management perspective, which they're two slightly different things, DLP is one thing, rights management is the encryption of documents. When you're doing rights management of documents specifically, that is, you need to have either Azure rights management or the 365 rights management piece to be able to encrypt those documents.
Yeah, you could either install your own rights management server on-prem or use the one that's included in Office 365, but yes.
Okay, over here.
You mentioned all the different Office Universal devices. Can you comment on why you don't mention Mac?
Sorry, say that again?
You don't mention Macintosh at
Oh,
all?
well,
We actually
what's
had a session
We
yesterday
actually had a
around
session
Office on
yesterday
Mac.
that covered Office on all the different platforms.
Okay.
But yeah, Office for Mac has the same experience, same everything across both platforms. We did a lot of work to close the feature gap with Office for Mac this release, and I'm happy to talk more about it if you want after that.
Thanks.
And we also have an Office for Mac preview, just for the record, at aka.ms/Mac 2016 preview. That's also out and available.
Yeah. Does the extension change? And if so, is there any earlier versions going to have any trouble with 2016?
Sorry,
Cut
I
out
missed
at the
that.
beginning.
Did the extension change on 2016, like DocX, or did it change to something else now? Or
No, the file format has not changed. We still have an OpenXL document format behind the scenes, so it's still an XLSX, a .docx, PPTX,
Yeah.
and so no, none of the file extensions have changed on that.
Yeah, the way that the file format actually works, it's basically extensible at this point without us changing the file format. So we can add new features and functionality like the new chart types in Excel 2016 and save them to the file in such a way that when you open it in 2013 or 2010 or 2007, it'll still open. You'll be able to edit the document. You won't see the histogram, obviously, but you'll be able to make changes. And then when you save it, you won't affect the histogram at all. And when you open it back in 2016, the histogram will be there.
great, thank you.
Yep.
That gentleman's been waiting.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
When you're in a situation where you have like a Surface and sometimes you're using it as a desktop and sometimes you're using it as a tablet, would you have both the PC version and the mobile version installed on the machine, or would it change function depending on how it would work, or how would that be handled?
So yes, okay, so will you have both installed? You can, optionally, it is fine. You can have both installed on the same device. It does mean you'll have, when you switch, you'll actually say which one you want to open. But yes, you can do it. In fact, I do it. When I switch to tablet mode, I'll use the universal applications or the modern applications. And then when I'm in the desktop, I'll use the desktop applications. From a functionality perspective, it just means you choose which one you want to use at which time. But that's perfectly capable. The big difference is when you're on a tablet, or when you get one of those 10-inch tablets, they will actually come, ready to go, pre-installed. When you're on a Surface or a device that's in that convertible space, you'll need to go to the store and download them separately. They won't be on the device as part of the preload.
Now you're up.
Thank you.
And then we'll go to you.
So you talked about the new administrative functions around activation in O365 admins. They can see more stuff that they couldn't see before that the individual user had to see. For groups, again, non-O365 enterprise users, have there been, hopefully there have been or will be announced shortly, improvements to the KMS activation complications around activating within my enterprise against my internal KMS, allow me to have better visibility into what's being activated, how many are pending activations for Office, all of those things.
It's a good question, actually. I haven't seen any of the stuff around updates to KMS at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. You can come by after I give you
come
my
by
card,
after.
and then
Definitely,
we'll hook you up.
we can find out on that
Okay,
one.
thanks.
Back?
Just for clarification, does the DLP features will not work without Office 365, or they will work?
The DLP features will not work without 365. Correct. So at the moment we have the DLP features that sit in the we're using the central compliance dashboard of Office 365, which then pushes out those policies. I don't think we have an on-prem version of that at the moment.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Come by, we'll sync up with you. I'll find out for that one. So come find me at the booth and we'll find out for sure.
And then, go ahead.
How do you keep the different versions of Office in sync with patching and feature updates between all the different platforms?
How do you keep them in date? So so this is from a modern to universal to phone application, or are you thinking
let's say
from 2013 to 2016?
As patches come out and features are put into those patches, let's say for the desktop version, then you have to trickle all those down to all the other platforms as well, like mobile phones and everything else. How do they all get their feature sets to be in parallel? So if you're on a desktop, you're going to get the same features as you are on mobile, versus they get out of sync where features are added in one and not the other.
Are you asking engineering-wise, or how you as an admin would control those deployments?
Right.
As
Engineering.
the admin.
As an admin.
So as an admin, so the modern applications will update from the store, and that's just part and process of where they come from in the store. So the store will push out updates as part of that. So if you are on a phone device, it's the same as you'd experience today. If an update comes through from the App Store, it's going to tell you there's an update. You choose whether or not to do it. At that point, it's probably not pushed out as much from the admin as it is controlled from the user. And on the devices with the modern applications, again, they're pushing from the store rather than from a central source. The desktop PC, however, and given that the controls on those are, you probably don't control the updates to those ones as much as you would to the desktop. The desktop is probably more the enterprise, where you see the enterprise really wanting to control what features come out, because that's where we start to do that's where we start to see people doing macros and add-ins and those kind of things that'll actually break documents in a big way, and all of a sudden people don't get paid, or whatever happens in the process in the background. So the updates to these really just get pushed out via the central source, and everything on the desktop you then get control over rolling out. So,
thanks.
So the question is around universal apps. So my understanding is that the universal apps comes free as part of Windows 10. So on a smaller devices. So the question is that what will the licensing model on a bigger devices like Surface?
Cool. So, and this is still early days at the moment. We haven't fully announced all of this. The idea is, yes, on those smaller tablets, they are included free. We want everyone to have a great Office experience wherever they are. And so you will have Word, Excel, and PowerPoint on 10 inches and below free. On the bigger devices, I can't remember if we're doing a freemium model or not, but I think the moment you start to get on a Surface in an enterprise as part of that, so that Surface is managed by the enterprise, then you would use one of your Office 365 licenses to activate for that user. So at that point, once you're in an enterprise model or an enterprise licensing model, you would pay to use those apps on a Surface.
Just to follow up. So if we don't have Office 365, so that means we don't have any licensing model in place, at least for now, I guess.
Possibly, yes.
Yep.
You showed the real-time collaboration for Word coming to the desktop. When would that be coming to Excel or PowerPoint, and would that also reach the universal apps?
Yeah, so we're working to bring it to PowerPoint basically as soon as possible. So it won't be too long for PowerPoint. Excel currently doesn't have co-authoring at all on the desktop, and we're working to sort of stage that out by bringing the slow co-authoring to Excel first, and then the real-time co-authoring a little bit later. Excel is a much trickier problem, so you should expect that to take a little bit longer, though. And then universal apps, we're working to get it there as quickly as possible. I don't know that we have a timeline for the universal apps yet. Sorry, I'm going to go here, and then we'll come back to you. Yep.
Outlook for iOS, do you now support distinct out-of-office messages for internal and external?
Sorry, do we support what for iOS?
Out-of-office.
Outlook
for iOS, do you now have distinct internal and external message support?
I see. This is for out-of-office messages, internal, external.
I don't think that we've added support for that yet, but that's a good feature request.
Yeah, so interesting for iOS, we acquired a company called Acompli, and that has become our Outlook for iOS app. And that team is working like super fast to make turnaround on changes and features on that. And by super fast, I mean like every week we're saying to them, you need to change something. They're coming back and going, cool, we're ready to ship. So that's one of the things that I'm not sure if it's on the list, but I can definitely find out. And if it's not, we'll see if we can get it there.
And a follow-up for that as well. With Outlook for on the Surface, would you make the default contacts for that application?
Sorry, we don't have much feedback here. Sorry, say that one again, sorry.
Outlook on the Surface device?
Yep.
Would you make that the contacts, your contacts, the default, as opposed to the built-in application that you have right now being the default?
So so the actual Outlook app on Surface, are you thinking of the Universal app, or are you thinking of Outlook 2016?
No, the download from the App Store.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the Outlook app on iOS, will it use the contacts from my Surface, or will it use... Is that right? Am I getting this? I'm confused on the question here. So I've got Outlook on my Surface, and I put contacts in Outlook on my Surface, and where do I want them to end up?
Well, I want it to default to Outlook from Acompli, the application you just mentioned.
Oh, okay. Okay. So at the moment, the Acompli app will look at it'll look at your mail environment that you're connecting to and pull down those contacts. Actually making the default change on Surface, it's not going to change because there is no Acompli app on Surface. On the iOS, that's a different thing, because then we're looking at what is the default contacts app within iOS. So it's kind of more a base level OS thing. Does that answer your question?
Not really, but...
Come up here and we'll have a chat.
Come up after and we'll try and figure it out. Go ahead.
Last question. Does the Insight functionality that you showed in Word require special type of access from an enterprise perspective out to the web? Will it use my IE built-in proxy settings, so it goes through my pack file and through my managed external route, versus try to access the internet to grab that data through some other?
Yeah, it will use your standard IE settings or network settings as part of that. It does need access to Bing, because it's Bing that's making the search in the background for it. Go over here again.
Oh, sorry.
Hello? Yeah. Can you just hash out maybe, or at least give a little more detail? You mentioned about Click to Run 2016 and its integration with SCCM. Do you have any more information about that?
I'm probably not the person to talk to. I don't know if Dan can.
Not really, no.
But I do know the person who can, and he is here.
Okay.
So come find me on the booth, and I will connect you with him.
Perfect.
But definitely he can give you more details on that one.
Great.
My question was also about the contextual searching in Word.
Yeah.
So if I understand this correctly, this processing data looks at what's in the document to figure out the context, and then takes that data out to the web?
It doesn't take the data out to the web. It's the specifics behind it is, so Bing is a search engine, has a contextual search engine as part of deciding what's around those words. So we're not sending the entire document to the web going, hey, let's look at this, and then let's send it back. So we're definitely not sending that out. When you're searching, you're sending Shutter and some tags around what that could mean out there. You're not actually sending your entire document out to the web to be searched. It's literally just sending the word you're searching for and some contextual keys around that. So if you are searching for something that is so like I said, Shutter is great. Another great one is if you're searching for Arizona in a document around the Arizona gunship, you'll actually get history back on the Arizona gunship as opposed to the state. So it's literally just looking internally in Word. It's doing a search through the document, getting the context markers on that to try and put refiners in, and then sending that off to Bing. So it's not sending off the entire document.
Okay.
Modern attachments, so are they currently available in OWA, I think, and is there the plan to port it back to Office 2013, or only 2016 and modern apps?
Sorry, which sync was that one?
feature?
No, the modern attachments.
Modern attachments. Currently, there is no plans, I don't think, to port that back to the previous versions of Office. It will be 2016 and forward.
But it will be available both in Universal app and desktop version.
So the Universal Outlook app?
I'm not sure if it is right now, but it will be, yes. Yeah. They're working to bring that functionality and a bunch of the other functionality that you saw across Outlook across all of the different endpoints, actually.
Thank you.
Yep. Great. That's it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.